Hey there, K-Korner family. It's your host, Crown, back again with some of the wildest and most unbelievable stories that you just won't believe happened. Today, I've got a mix of tales that will make you laugh and maybe even shake your head in disbelief. From a bizarre car service encounter to unexpected legal twists and even a clash at a local festival, we have got it all. So grab your favorite snack, sit back, and let's dive into these crazy adventures. You ready? Let's get started. A little background. I used to work at a large used car company with some locations having service stations. My location had a service station for our customers who bought cars from us and had any issues or just wanted to do regular servicing. Our service department was only open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekdays. Not very easy to work around if you work normal 8 to 5 work weeks. I completely understand. I used to work the weekend shifts/night shifts at this company and their business office, paperwork for sales, while I was going to college. Now on to the story. This happened around 6 p.m. on a Saturday night. Every Friday before the service station closed for the weekend, the manager would bring over a bin with all the weekend pickups, so any customers who couldn't make it during the weird work week hours had the opportunity to still pick up/pay for it in the main office. We had a woman come in, Karen, already in a frenzy because she had just bought the car and was upset she had to already get it serviced. We had a 30-day window where all issues with the car would be fixed for free and the customer given a free rental in the meantime. So she didn't have to pay for the repairs. But I do understand the frustration of having to go through the trouble of having to bring the car in and pick it up later. I was going through the process of grabbing her keys and having her sign the sign-out form for her car, but she refused to sign it without test driving the vehicle first. Now at night, we only had 3 people in the office. Our manager was gone talking to the sales manager for the evening, and I had been working there for almost 2 years. So I told Jane, my co-worker, I could handle the office alone, and asked her to take Karen out to her car so she could check it and see if it was running okay. I told Jane just to have her turn it on. If she had any issues, I would just reissue her the rental and have the service techs take a look when they came on Monday. Jane grabs Karen's cars and paperwork and tells her to follow her to the service lot. Now 45 minutes have passed. My manager is back in the office and we are all getting busy, and I'm the only one able to leave to assist any customers or sales associates with paperwork, so I tell my manager I'm going to run out and check on Jane and Karen to see if I can speed up the process and get Jane back in the office to help with the rush. I go out to the service lot, no Jane, no Karen, and no Karen car. I start to panic a bit because I know Jane doesn't have her phone. We have to leave them locked in our cabinets because we handle people's bank and personal information, so I can't call her to see where she and Karen went. Another 10 minutes pass and Jane comes running back into the office sweating. I ask her where the hell she went because the whole process should have only taken about 15 minutes max. And here's what Karen did. Jane took Karen out to her car and the check engine light was no longer on and it was not making any noises while idling. I guess this didn't satisfy Karen enough and she refused to do anything until she could test drive it. It's part of our service tech's jobs to test drive the car before checking it as completed for this very reason. No, Karen is not technically allowed to do that because she refused to sign out the vehicle and it will be liable to us if anything happened while still under our care. Jane tried to explain this to her, but she refused to listen. Jane was new and was a little scared of Karen because she was being quite belligerent, so when Karen said all she needed was a ride around the lot, she said okay and handed her the keys. She then told Karen that she had to go with her as a witness to the noise the car would make. Jane didn't know how to refuse. I understand it's a weird situation to be in as a new employee, having a customer screaming in your face telling you have to do this. So she gets in the car with Karen. Karen then takes off. She leaves the parking lot, starts going on back roads, and then gets on the interstate for a 35-minute joyride with my co-worker. Jane didn't know if she was getting kidnapped because she kept telling Karen to pull over and go back, but she just told her to wait because a noise would happen. After Karen finally came back to the store, Jane just ran straight from the car to the office to tell the manager, and of course she's crying and shaking. My manager immediately goes outside and rips the woman a new one and told her to get out or she would be getting the cops called on her. She was blacklisted from our store, but I did get in trouble for having such a new co-worker handle that situation. I already feel really bad about it, man. But in the end, Jane was not kidnapped, just under the forced supervision of a very entitled Karen. A little background on me. I used to get into a lot of trouble with a lot due to drug use and things associated with it like possession charges and retail theft. So one day while I was high as hell, I went to Kohl's and for whatever reason ended up stealing a belt. Yes, a belt. I know what a waste of time and energy, but anyways, I walked out wearing it. I was approached by a loss prevention officer who asked me to come back into the store, which I did. I was taken to their office and took the belt off. While in there, the girl who apprehended me asked me for my ID, which I told her I did not have on me as it was in my car. At that point, I got up and just walked out of the office and headed towards my car. She pleaded with me to return, but I kept walking to my car and left. About 6 months later, my wife and I were planning to move, so I decided to call the sheriff's department just to check and see if I had any warrants. I was curious if charges were ever filed for the theft of a belt. And to my surprise, the lady told me I had 2 warrants, none for theft, but for misdemeanor battery. The girl at Kohl's said that I somehow touched or pushed her, which absolutely wasn't true. So I called my lawyer and she set up a time through the prosecutor for me to come to court and turn myself in. I was gonna go before the judge to get my bond set, then bond out. The plan was for me to arrive at the county jail between 3 and 4 a.m. the day of my court date, because a judge wanted me processed in the system prior to going before him. It was mid-January in Illinois. I was extremely cold the morning of my court date. My wife and I drove to the jail around 4 a.m. and I had the doorbell to be let in. They buzzed me in and the officer met me in the lobby. He asked why I was there and told him the story and what my lawyer had set up. This is where it got weird. The officer started trying to talk me out of turning myself in. This was a $50,000 warrant, and he started coming up with excuse after excuse for me to go away. There is not enough people there to process me. It only takes one, by the way. The floor is cold. I'll be waiting for hours to get it finished. I won't be able to sleep, and so on. He did whatever he could for me to walk away. I was in shock and honestly don't think anyone would believe me had my wife not been there and had it not been video/audibly recorded. So I went home and went to sleep. That morning, I ended up going to court and my lawyer is like, "What the hell? Why didn't you turn yourself in as planned?" I told her the story and she in turn told the judge and prosecutor. They were livid. They asked me who the officer was, and of course I made sure to write his name down. And his supervisor was called to the courtroom. Turns out, he had had some other issues and this incident was the last straw. He ended up getting suspended after a week later, and I ended up having the charges dropped because they were false anyways. So happy ending all around. Whoa, are these stories wild or what? Hey, if you're enjoying the ride and love hearing about these crazy real-life tales, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to K-Korner for more, and drop a comment below with your thoughts or your own wild story. It really helps the channel. And hey, you might just find a community of folks who've been through similar wacky situations. Alright, let's jump back into the madness. This story happened to my friend and she asked me to post it here so as to not be identified, but I'll tell you in the first person how she passed it on to me, okay? Warning, it's a long story. My name is Lisa, not her real name by the way. I'll start with a little bit of my story, okay? I'm Brazilian. I was born in one of the poorest favelas in Brazil. Thanks to President Lula's social programs, I was able to enter a federal university and graduate as a physics teacher. In Brazil, unlike other countries, public universities have a much higher quality than private universities, which made finding a job much easier. Here too, teachers earn very well. For example, I earned 4.5 times the minimum wage and work 40 hours a week. I lived on rent, and after starting teaching, I saved half my salary for a year and bought my first apartment. That's been 4 years ago. I furnished it all with good quality furniture and more technological appliances at the time, 2019. Last year I bought land on the same street and started building. Decidedly, life in a condominium listening to the intimacy of neighbors is not for me. I built my house, I walled it, I finished furnishing last week, and a month ago I advertised my apartment for rent. The rent is cheaper than apartments rented in the same condominium because I don't want to rent through real estate agents. In Brazil, real estate agents' fees are very expensive and they don't work with a guarantee. Insurance is very expensive and increases the rent a lot, making it difficult to rent. So I announced it as a person-to-person rental with a deposit of 2 rents in case the tenants damage the apartment or any furniture or appliances. If this does not happen, the deposit is to be returned at the end of the contract. The building manager prohibits animals and children, but as the apartment was purchased, we reached an agreement. Allow small to medium-sized animals, cats and smaller dogs that don't make noise, and children over 8 years old. And this was informed in a lease ad. A couple became interested and came to visit the apartment. That day, Karen walked down the street and saw the ad. She invaded the building. In Brazil, properties are not open to visitors. Visits are scheduled individually. And she entered the apartment. I asked the couple if there were any issues with her looking into it with them, and they said no. At the end of the visit, the couple said they wanted to close a lease. And Karen interrupted them saying, "I'm going to keep the apartment." I tried to explain that the couple had arrived first, and that the priority was theirs. Then she said, "I need to have a roof over my head." And I asked her son's age. The son was 4, so I showed her the ad saying we don't accept children under 8. And Karen started having a meltdown. She said we were Nazis, I'm Jewish by the way, and that it was a crime not to accept children. That she was a friend of the owner of the apartment and was going to make him terminate his contract with my real estate agency. At that point, the couple and I burst out laughing, which apparently was extremely offensive to Karen. I informed her that I was the owner, and she turned red with rage and started screaming like crazy. The manager who lived in the apartment across the street came to see what was going on. Soon saw what was going on and called the police. The couple and I began discussing closing the lease and what deadlines they would like attached. When they asked if it was okay to bring their 2 cats, I informed them that no, that I myself have cats and I lived with them there. Then the police arrived. When the police had finished climbing the stairs and were reaching the door, Karen walked towards me screaming, "You don't want to rent to my baby, but you will rent to these filthy animals? You're going to burn in hell. You're all going to burn in hell, you bloody filthy." Insert offensive slurs here. And she tried to take the keys to the apartment out of my hands. The policeman immobilized her and handcuffed her. She started screaming, "Arrest her. She doesn't want to rent it to me because I'm a single mother." So the officer asked me if it was true. And I showed the ad and said her son is 4 years old. When again she started screaming, that's a crime, you disgusting pigs." When the officer said, "That's not a crime, there is no law about it," and signaled his colleague to take her to the police car. The officer asked if the couple wanted to press charges for the attack, and they said no. So I said, "I do. I'm offended and so is my wife, the one sitting over there." So we went to the police station right behind the car. We filed a report and she was detained that day. The couple closed the lease, and yesterday my wife and I prepared the reception in the apartment with cookies, brigadeiros and homemade cakes to apologize for what happened to Karen. We helped them with the boxes. They are really a very nice couple. I hope I never see Karen again, and I don't know where she got some of her slurs. My friend sent me a story last week. There was a social at her house yesterday, and the couple was there. They are really cute. I am renting the apartment next door to them soon, and I think they must be wonderful neighbors. So this happened a few years back in my hometown. I think I was around 10 or 11, but for some context, my hometown has a celebration we call Canal Days, and it's to celebrate the founding of our town that was built along a canal. So during this Canal Days in particular, there was a hot dog and burger vendor kinda like those you would see in Liberty Mutual commercials. This was the first year I was allowed to go to the Canal Days by myself, as it was when I got my first phone. I had been going on rides and running around with my friends all morning. So when lunch rolled around, I went and got myself a burger, fries, and a soda. I don't remember the kind. It was a good day and I was enjoying my meal when I heard that noise that we all know on this sub. I didn't notice it at first until the entitled mother got louder and cleared her throat a second time. I turned around to see a middle-aged white woman in her maybe mid-30s with the average Karen haircut, wearing a sunflower dress and a sun hat. The following interaction went something like this. Yes, ma'am, can I help you? Oh my god, are you eating a burger? Yes, why? Would you like to know where I got it? Ew, no. I don't want to know because unlike you, I'm not a meat eater. Yes, she really referred to me as a meat eater, like it's a bad thing. Okay, well, then what do you need? I asked in the nicest tone I could muster. I need you to stop eating that filth. My family is only on a vegetarian diet and aren't murderers like you. It was at this time that her two goblins had walked up from their baseball games that were going on. Entitled kid number 1 says, Mom, what's this kid eating? Oh, it's just a burger, sweetie. It's disgusting though, isn't it? Yes, it is. Unlike him, we eat healthy and aren't animal killers. It was at this time that I had realized that her second son had walked up behind me and was looking at my food. Hey, what are you doing with my food? Oh, nothing. Just getting rid of this fellas. Her other kid said that. I can't do that. I paid for it and it's mine. You don't get to choose what happens to it. Whatever. I turned back to the entitled mother when I had a perfect idea. I shoved the burger into my mouth and took a big bite and made the biggest deal about how good it tasted, to the mother's disapproval. It was at this point that the entitled mother went red and proceeded to slap the burger out of my mouth. When I retaliated and yelled at her, she just laughed, and when I cussed at her, I called her a witch because of how she was acting. Her little entitled son tried to fight me and was yelling and screaming at me for disrespecting his mother. I was so happy I knew how to wrestle and I was able to get him off me, but at the cost of him getting hurt. After all of this happened, the police officer came over to hear the entitled kid screaming about his broken teeth. This officer asked what happened and Karen told him a twisted story of how she was just talking to me about my eating habits and that type of nonsense. After she was done, the officer came over to me and asked my side of the story. And something I forgot to mention, I was recording my surroundings to send it to a friend that moved away. He asked for a recording of his favorite hometown event. Anyway, the conversation with the officer went like this. Son, this woman told me that you assaulted her and her boys after she tried to talk to you about what you were eating. Is that what happened? No, what actually happened was that I was minding my own business and eating a burger when she berated me for eating meat. And when I took another bite to keep eating, she slapped it out of my hand. As for her son, he tried to attack me when I cussed at his mother. Am I going to be in trouble? No, son, it seems that you were just defending yourself, but I need to ask some witnesses what had happened. Okay, well, can I go grab my phone to text my mom? Sure, that's fine. As soon as I picked up my phone and noticed that it was still recording, I ran like the flash over to the cop and told him I have a recording of the incident. As soon as the entitled mother heard this, she went white as a ghost. I handed my phone to the cop, never do this by the way, it's a dumb idea, and showed him the recording. He watched it, found the real truth, put Karen in handcuffs, and that was that. But I at least got to have the rest of the day to have fun and enjoy the last of my food that was still there. And that's a wrap for today's episode of K-Korner. I hope you had as much fun listening as I did narrating these unbelievable ones. It's amazing what kind of adventures life throws at us, right? Remember, if you have a story you think the K-Korner community would love, send it our way. We might just feature it in a future episode. Until next time, this is Crown, signing off.